Hello and welcome to another Arena Open review video. I wasn't expecting to be doing another one of these so soon after, the last one, but here we are. I actually didn't know there was an Open again this past weekend, but it was so soon after the previous one. I thought, oh, there's no way there's going to be another one so soon, but there was, and I had another very successful run, so I wanted to go over that today, and hopefully you enjoy that. Without further ado, I'm just going to start going through the logs just like I did last time. So you'll see here the two decks, the two draft decks. I'm not going to be covering my sealed pools. It only took me 2 bullets this time. I ended up getting there with red white. So that was a good deck. But I did want to check this here, the draft number 1. So this is going to be a little slower because I'm recording from an undisclosed location off in international waters. So it's going to be difficult to find. So immediately right off the bat is a very difficult pick here. This is a pick that not everybody's going to agree with. It's probably a pick that I don't even agree with um, now, like at this stage, like after having done the Open, it didn't really work out for me, this pick. But what I will say is I don't hate it. Uh, so I took Feed the Cycle. The decision here is between Feed the Cycle and Valley Might Caller. You could take Kidnap too, and I like Kidnap. It's just I think it's just worse than Feed the Cycle as a removal spell, so I don't really want to do that. It's not an instant, and it's double pin, so I didn't want to start there. Valley Might Caller is a strong card. The problem with Valley Might Caller is the style of deck that it wants you to draft. I was just not as enthused about that in the Open this time around. And I wouldn't have been last time either. It's just that, in the Opens, like, specifically one of my biggest, pieces of information is that, removal is more premium in higher level drafts because it's just more difficult to get the good removal later on in the pack. So I did take Feed the Cycle here. I don't think it's bad. I think I actually probably would do this again, looking back on it. And then, next pick, um, this is incorrect. Okay, there we go. it loaded. I was like, what? That's not right. So next pick, another interesting pick here. So I took Hivespun Wolverine. It's not a pick that I liked at the time. Like, Take Out the Trash, I think, is a better card. The reason I didn't take it, and I think that if you're somebody, like, I think if you had a different mentality going into the Open, I think taking Take Out the Trash is actually probably the best pick here. And what do I mean by that? So there are some people at this stage of the format that are essentially drafting like only blue red, because it's open. I think if you're one of those people, I think it's very reasonable to take out the trash because the card is probably the best card in this pack, and it's very good in that deck. The reason I didn't do that is that I'm not one of those people. I wanted to take the most powerful card. Hivespun Wolverine, it's questionable whether it's even the most powerful card. It it ends up being fine. I think this is another close pick that's different. You could also take Daggerfang Duo here, and I don't think that's necessarily wrong because you're following up Feed the Cycle. I think it's a little. I was agonizing over these first two picks here. These first two picks, like this Feed the Cycle pick into Hivespun Wolverine, very difficult start to a draft in terms of there not being a clear right choice. And that's just interesting to talk about, I think. So then in pack 3, another very interesting pick. So I also think this pick is wrong in hindsight, but I don't hate it. I do think I was supposed to take Sticky Tongue Sentinel here over Curious Forager because I think Sticky Tongue Sentinel is a more agnostically powerful card. So I think this was a mistake. I could also have taken 3-2 River. I think I was supposed to take the Sentinel over Forager. I think this was just a misevaluation for me in terms of how strong Curious Forager is. But I got a little tunnel vision, and there's a couple of picks in this draft that I don't like. This is one of them. I think there's another Curious Forager pick later on in the draft that I don't like. Here, this pick I do like though. Just taking Daggerfang Duo. None of these other cards move the needle. I mean, there are people that really like Head of the Homestead. I essentially wasn't going to draft rabbits under any circumstances. Like it just was never going to happen. It would have had to be so open that I don't know. It would have required so much for me to draft it that I just was never drafting it. So it was just I just didn't want to take Out of the Homestead. Here, Longstock Brawl, another interesting pick. So in this pack, I see this late Spelljar. It's not necessarily late. This is like right about where you would expect to see it in this style of pod, especially given that there's other relatively strong cards in this pack. And the pick here was between Longstock Brawl and Uncharted Haven. And in a normal draft, like in a best of one draft, I definitely would be leaning more in the direction of Uncharted Haven. I took Longstock Brawl because it's an open, and I said, okay, well, removal is going to be a premium, especially cheap removal, and Longstock Brawl is cheap removal, and I need it. Like the style of decks that I'm going to be playing need to have it, and so I need to just take it here. And if I don't take it here, I'm not going to get it. And here, another Curious Forager pick over 3-Tree Reaver. I think this one is less bad than the first Curious Forager pick. I still think 3-Tree Reaver probably is better. I don't know. I don't like 3-Tree Reaver much. Curious Forager has like upside to do things. I did at this point think I was still like likely to be green black. Next pack, nothing available to me. The best card is Flamecash Gecko, so I took that. Not really a lot to talk about there. And then here, similar story, just nothing. A lot of black-white cards, and just nothing I really wanted. You could argue for taking something else there. Here's where you start having like interesting thoughts, right? So very strangely, this pack, the composition of this pack had a lot of blue cards that are all medium. All of the best 7 cards in this pack, I guess the best 7 were probably taken, not the red card, but nothing really wheeling here. Dire Sight comes back, which is I'm just happy to see. Very late Feather of Flight, so it does make you think, okay, maybe White's open, whatever. And then we move on into pack 2. And a pick that I think is fairly clear is just Dream Do Enchanter and Trancer. Impossible to pronounce that card's name correctly. I don't know if you've seen anybody pronounce it correctly ever, but I certainly haven't. I think this is a pretty clear Dream Do Enchanter. Yes, it's going to be hard to splash in the open, and it looks like I would be trying to splash it at this spot. Like I thought I would be trying to splash it, but obviously it isn't what ended up happening. But I think it's reasonable to do. And here's another key pick. So this pick is very interesting. Most people, I'm not sure everybody would have made this pick. So I agonized over this and took Overprotect. Now I could have taken, I don't know why that's in slightly sideboard spot. I could have taken the Pawn Prophet. I think Overprotect is just a more generically powerful green card. So I took it because it just leaves me more open to other stuff. It doesn't end up coming back, which is unfortunate, but I think the Bellwing Crier does. I didn't take Feed the Cycle here, which is kind of a little bit of a hedge in the right direction, and actually you'll see that I get rewarded for that immediately with the Dowerport Mage. So Dowerport Mage, really strong card, especially in Frogs. It's considerably better than 3-Tree Scribe, and I'm glad I made this pick here and got into Frogs, because very next pack, there's Clement. And Clement doesn't bust it or anything, but it's a good card in the Frog deck. It's a signal that Frogs is definitely open, at least in its direction, and I'm just going to move in. So Lightshell Duo next. I took over Runaway Together because I should be able to get that card late. Tree Guard Duo, again, for basically the same logic as not taking the Runaway Together. Like, I'm going to want exactly 1 copy of it. I took Mind Spiral here over the Lilypad Village because I don't respect Lilypad Village. Simple as that. Late Plumecrete Escort, took that for the deck, another Lightshell Duo, and then nice Bellwing Crier to sort of be like, okay, nice, I can play that in my Frogs deck. And then I do get that late Runaway Together. When we open pack 3, get a nice 2-drop blue rare with Beastbinder. I think Beastbinder is a clear pick. Yes, there are 2 cards that are Frogs, but they're worse than Beastbinder by I think a lot. And one of them will likely come back, was sort of what I was thinking. Pack 2, Tung Sentinel, I think clearly better than Tree Guard Duo. In the frog space, especially given that I already have 1 Tree Guard Duo and 2 other 4. Like I already have a bunch of 4s basically. I don't need another 4-drop. Then Sunshower. This is a very interesting pick. It ended up being definitely the right pick. Like based on the way like my drafts and games went, this is a pick that I'm not sure everybody would have had the discipline to make, but I do actually think was the right pick. Um, I really needed the Sunshower Druid in my deck. It ended up being really good for me in a lot of spots, and Keen-Eyed Curator wouldn't have been as good, like straight up. That was a good pick. It worked out really well, given that I was in bronze. And then I took 3 Dream. Just there's nothing here. Interactive spell. Lately, Splash Mentor was very nice. Yeah, yep. So I ended up taking the 3 Tree Scribe over the Mistbreath Elder. This is an interesting pick. I just think the 3 Tree Scribe is more consistently good than the Mistbreath Elder. The Mistbreath Elder can put you in some weird spots that you don't really want to be in, and I don't think the cards look amazing. I actually ended up playing this Gossip's Talent, which is not something I would have thought that I'd be doing at the start of the format, but I ended up playing it, and that was the deck. Okay, so onto the details here. Um, there's really no sideboarding I could do for this deck. There just wasn't really a whole lot that could be done. I had a Druid of the Spade in here, which I should have not had in here, but like because it was I literally made no tokens, like literally zero. So I should definitely not have had this Druid of the Spade in here, which I realized at the end of the draft. Like I realized over here, I was like, oh, I probably shouldn't. But then I was like, I don't know, whatever. I wasn't gonna win this match either way, and I won the other 3. So let's begin with these very long games. So, oh boy, I need to like little bit zoomed out. Okay. This is not going to work as its way that it will. Maybe I'm doxing myself. Nope, just need to control minus again. Okay, so we've zoomed out a bit. It's going to be hard to see, kind of. That's okay. So start. Just actually hold on. Is this a simple keep? This isn't like a slam dunk keep. Obviously, I'm on the play, so I kept this. You probably don't do that. Like don't. Um, you probably aren't supposed to keep this hand. It ends up sort of working out. I forget how long this game goes. And it did end up working out. Yeah, they end up having to chump a bunch and lose. So what happens in this game essentially is my opponent's playing red white. They have a couple of flying threats. I made an effort to get them to use the removal spell on something that wasn't the 4/4. So we can see actually there was I had this light shell duo. And what happened was I wanted them to use I wanted them to use this thing on to remove the light shell duo because I figured they had some sort of interactive spell. They ended up doing that, and then I got to play my thing because I knew they had this flyer in their hand that was coming back. I needed a way to deal with it, which I got by having the Lily Split Control. I was actually able to kill it and then attack, and I was actually kind of racing at this point. Opponent was at 5, and then I was hoping they would have to chump. Which they essentially did here. Because I bounce this and you get to attack. Actually, you can did it twice and chump. Um, so there we were kind of in this like tense spot. Opponent top has the bow and gets to attack me down to 3. Then here they get to attack, but it isn't enough to I have to double block it. It's not enough to whatever. They left the Lily Splash Mentor alive, which I thought was kind of interesting. It didn't seem like the right thing to do, but it is what they did. And then ended up losing this game. So on to the next game, which was here. I was on the draw, and I won this one too. Let's take a quick look. So mulligan this obviously because no second land. Keep this. I think I kept. Did I keep this? I probably shouldn't have kept it. I didn't keep it. That was smart of me. So I didn't keep this hand because I didn't have a 2-drop and I was playing and it gets an aggressive deck. Little did I know that's not what actually ended up happening. My opponent had got me. They got me with what occurred. But I ended up mulling down to this hand, which is actually very good. Kept some spells, put an Azure Beastbinder into play, just kept attacking with the Azure Beastbinder. Basically, my opponent was stuck on lands for a while. They ended up hitting the third land and finding a Vanishing Light, which sucked. Then they just cast a bunch of removal spells. Like they kept going. They went down to like 3 life, and they just kept casting removal spells on my stuff. And then eventually, I was able to just get in for 3 unblockable due to Gossip's talent, and they were dead there. So my opponent was stuck on lands, but they actually had sideboarded into a deck that it seemed like they sideboarded into a different deck. It's kind of what it looked like to me. I don't advise doing that, but they did do it. On to the next match, which is against a, I guess, Abzan deck. Obviously, going to be mulliganing this hand. Kept this. Had a 2-drop. Opponent is on 3 colors. Let's go back here. So I decided to block the 3/2. Or was I attacking? No, I attacked and they blocked. And then I played my Light Shell Duo. The reason I wanted to do this is because I thought, like, okay, I'd get this off the board, whatever. Now, obviously, it worked out because they got to do this. So they got the forage, which was not great for me. But then they cast a feckin' green shell, which wasn't good for me. I decided to go for the beat plan. I don't really think there was another reasonable option here. Like I thought about drawing the 2 cards, but I also just thought that the feckin' green shell would outvalue me, and the only way I was winning this game was getting in for like a bunch of damage, which is the line that I took. I got them to 9, which was not nearly enough, and then they just played a bunch of guys and killed me. Essentially, I think is what happened. Yeah, they basically just played a bunch of guys and killed me. Then, obviously, I won the next 2 games. This one I was on the play. Kept this hand, I believe. Kept my Sunshine Druids, and then just leveled up my Gossip's talent. Basically, I just had a bunch of 1/3s in play for the whole game, and they just conceded to me eventually having the Downward Board Mage kind of lock on them. They just kind of couldn't attack me, and I was getting in for free with the Beastbinder, and just kind of ended very quickly. Not a whole lot to talk about there. And this one kept this, obviously, because I had a Sunshine Root on 1 on the draw. Then I play a 2/3. They have a Zoraline in play, which I hadn't seen yet. They were splashing it. Well, I knew they were playing white, but I didn't know what they were splashing. Plus the Zoraline. So then I passed here. They make it 3/4. I get to attack both. Plus 1 life. Bloom Creed Escort. This was probably a bad block. I think what I should have done is just overprotected on the 2/3 to keep it alive. I really don't know. But I did kind of like get them, I suppose. Like here I kind of got them because I removed my green source and replayed it. So they ended up playing around the untap trick and not dealing like 3x damage to me and getting back their guy. So then I got to do this attack. Again, this was sort of another spot where I was just like hoping that they would use their removal spell on if they had it on like something that wasn't the Lily Splash Mentor. I was like trying to get the Lily Splash Mentor to stick. I end up playing it now, hoping it sticks. It does because I thought they would use the removal spell. This is a cool little interaction, by the way. If you remove the Sticky Tongue Sentinel's active thing with a finality counter on it, so that it wouldn't have a finality counter on it, cute. It was a cute interaction. At least I thought. And then once I got the Overprotect up on the Lily Splash Mentor, I knew it was over. They just flooded out. So that was the game there. On to match number 3 against, I believe, Blue Black. I kept this hand. It's a good hand. We're just going to go through it. They play a Kitsa on 2. They're on the play. So I have the Beastbinder. Beastbinder gets owned. I actually made a bad play this game, I think. So I have Beastbinder in play. And I attacked, but what I chose to turn off the Kitsa, which was wrong, because they can loot anyways. And then they can block with this. What I should have done is turn off the Night Roll Hermit so that they would, if they wanted to block, they would have blocked with the Kitsa, and then I could have overprotected to get through it. That's what I should have done. I didn't do that, and then they got to, downwind ambusher me. That was actually the previous turn. I played Gossip's Talent that turn, but then I tapped down the Kitsa again. I'm not sure that was right. It probably was bad. I don't know. It was. I was really far behind. The Kitsa was kind of owning me. There were a bunch of squirrels attacking my face. I was kind of like all in on this Dream Dew Enchanter, just like hoping that it would tap down their stuff for the rest of the game, and that did not happen. They attacked me for a bunch and then killed my guy, and I was just kind of hoping, and there was just no hope once they had the shore up there. So that was game one, tough game. Didn't have a chance really to do much. You'll see that the next two games were longer, and as a result, I won them. Interesting Druid of the Spade in the hand opening appearance. Obviously mulligan that. And then here we are getting started with a nice little Dowerport Mage. From the litter, fortunately, I have the Longstock Brawl, which I use and get to attack with the Dowerport Mage. And that was basically where the game was, where I basically had a chance from that point onwards. I got to just start drawing cards and bouncing my stuff back with the Dowerport Mage. I was just outvaluing my opponent. I could do stuff like this. My life total was at 15. I was feeling pretty good. Favor bouncy things. And I was only on 4 lands really for the entire game until I hit the Clement, and then until I hit the Clement, which allowed me to get more mana. Now I did get a little aggressive here because I went down to like 8 after like them having a removal spell, which I kind of was like, all right, well if they have one removal spell, it's not the end of the world, and it wasn't the end of the world. But I just started tapping down their stuff with the Dream Dew Enchanter, and we just ended up winning this one after a little bit of a grind. And then we will go back to the final game of this match. Another, keep with Dowerport Mage on turn 2. Opponent has Shoreline Looter on turn 2. Fair fight. And then just kind of doing normal stuff. They get to attack me. Stuff's back in my hand. I play the things that I had. I have High Stride. So they use the trick, and I use the High Stride to keep my thing alive. That was a good deal for me. Then I drew the Brawl, and then the game basically ended again because once I was able to keep my Dowerport Mage on the battlefield and they were not able to kill it, they essentially lost. And then I drew Overprotect, and it was even more overprotected than it was previously. This was interesting. Like, this was a really interesting spot because they just attacked. I guess they wanted the signals. I ended up just saving my guy with Overprotect because I wanted to spend my mana. Not sure. Like, I just wanted to keep it around. It seemed fine to me. They were not gonna use the rest of their mana. And at this point, we were just trying to get more value than them, right? I was just trying to Dowerport Mage back my Sunshower Druid every turn. 3 mana draw a card, blow up the enchantment. We were Gossip's Talenting people. Gossip's Talent, surprisingly not bad in this deck. It actually did a decent amount of work in terms of killing my opponents. So I think we just started chipping them away here. They're actually at 16. And I hadn't quite established the lock yet. And I established the lock with Dream Dew Enchanter, and then it was over, basically. At that point. All right, and then I don't really need to talk about this. Was just I got smashed by a very, very strong blue-red deck. I had another early Dowerport Mage in this guy. However, you can see that on turn 4, this is what the opponent's board state looked like, or I guess this was turn 7. It wasn't good for me. It was Brawl, Stormchaser's Talent, Butch Otters, Tempest Angler. Not the best. Game 2, very much the same. Not a whole lot that could have been done for me. Had to mulligan down to 5, and was just hoping to get the beats rolling here. The 2/1 bird that didn't work out, and then I got crushed. So, and then there was an 88 Tempest Angler in play, and that wasn't good. So, kind of got crushed on the glass in match 4. But that set me up in another 3-1 draft, and then for the the big reveal here. This draft 2 deck, which ended up being a bit of a beauty. Very clear, much easier pack one pick one than previously. The only other option that I considered in this spot was Blacksmith's Talent because it's monocolored and it's a powerful card. I think Vren is just too much stronger than it to not take here, and so I decided to take it. Pack one pick two already kind of off the rails. I actually think this is a fine pick for me. I ended up taking Grotto. Cash Grab was the other card I was thinking about taking. The reason I didn't take it again is that mana fixing is going to be really hard to find in an open. Cash Grab is good, but it's not either of the two colors of the card that I had. And I thought that Grotto was going to be high value to me, so I took it there. Here, another really tough pick, right? I took Pond Prophet. Like, this is another weird spot where I'm like not sure that I would have done this again, but it was kind of like I don't like what else was I supposed to take here? The Moonstone Harbinger. That card's not very good outside of Black White. Eluge is like a mono blue card. My deck ended up being mono blue, so I actually would have probably played it. I'm not even sure I would have played it in the deck that I ended up with. Again, very difficult spot. Ended up taking Hardfire Hero. Like the first part of this, the first 4 picks of this draft are not going amazing. I could have taken like there were some green cards I could have taken along the way. You see Tree Guard Duo and like the Cash Grab. It's like, oh, you could have been green or whatever. And I was just kind of being open to whatever came my way. The late Pawn Prophet. Here I took Tempest Angler. This was a mistake. I should have taken Nightwhirl Hermit here because I love Nightwhirl Hermit. So this was just a miss for me. That was bad. I took Polywallop over Early Winter because I thought I was likely to be Frogs because I had the 2 Pawn Prophets already. And I hadn't seen any black cards really. I don't think this was terrible. Took Skyscraper Duo again for Frogs reasons. Took this. Took Runaway Together. This ended up being just like a mistake, but I don't think it was bad at the time. Took Gossip's Talent, and then there's the last pick, Nightwhirl Hermit. Pack 2 pick one, another not super inspiring pick. I thought about taking Forager, Vinelasher, and Wave Rider. Those were the 3 things I thought about. I wanted to take the blue card because I knew it would be blue, and I was just hoping that some of the other stuff would work out. There's 2 Cash Grabs in here and a Squirrel. I don't know. So I ended up taking the blue card. I could have taken Vinelasher. Vinelasher would have been good for me, but not amazing. And then this pack, I just took, again, I wanted to just take the blue card. It was also an interactive spell. I could have taken Downwind Ambusher, but again, at this point, I kind of thought I was Frogs. Like you can see, I was like, ooh, is Vren going to even make my deck? Am I going to be Frogs? I just took a blue card, hedged, all that good stuff. For similar reasons to the previous time I did it, I ended up taking Fountainport Bell here. There's a Builder's Talent. My deck didn't have like a super strong support for it so far, and I didn't really want to try to splash on the Arena Open. Plume Disregard's a very good card, but again, I was worried about maybe splashing the Vren, like having my mana be good enough. And then here I took a Pawn Prophet because Frogs, I thought it was Frogs. Another Bell because for fixing purposes. Here I took a Daggerfang Duo because I thought it was just the best card. And then now I ended up taking the Plume Sword over the Bell. So it kind of wouldn't have really ended up mattering much if I took this or the Bell the first time. And then this was sort of when I was like, oh, I need to be blue-black. Like right here, pack 2, pick 8, this was when the alarm bells went off and I said, oh no, blue-black is wide open. It's insane. Like specifically blue is wide open because Shoreline Looter is one of the best blue cards in the format. And Mind Whisker is good in like specifically blue-black. So here I was like, here's where I said, okay, I'm not Frogs. Like I'm not Frogs. Like it's just not happening. Okay. I was like, no, we're getting into blue black now. And then when Mind Whisker willed, I was just all in at this point. I just sort of said, okay, no, we're in. Now here I took Lumura because I thought, oh, I can be like Sultai. I should have taken probably one of like these 2 cards, Daggerfang Duo maybe. I don't know. This ended up being a bad pick, but picked Shoreline Looter next. I took a Cash Grab. Don't think this was terrible. Late Beast Binder. I took Savor. This ended up being a great pick. Even though like here, like you could have taken more Polywallops and like tried to be blue-green, but I said like no, I think my black cards are actually better. This ended up being true. I thought my black cards were better. They ended up being better. My deck was better as a blue-black deck. I just got all these late blue-black payoffs. I had this, so I did take this, and I thought, okay, I can sideboard into this if I need it for like enchantments. It's kind of the hope. And that didn't ever happen, but I could have done it. And yeah, so that was draft two. I You'll see that I ended up playing. I started playing blue green. Like I started playing Sultai. My first deck was Sultai. I was like, oh, I gotta play the Loomer because it's really good. It wasn't. It is good, but it ended up not being worth. Like my mana base could support it, but it just wasn't like one of the things I ran into in this game, which I had to find a mulligan here, partially because of the Loomer. But in this game, what happened was this game went forever, and it went to decking basically. But the problem is I couldn't cast my good spells because I was going to deck myself, and I was like, well, if Lumira and Cash Grab are milling me, like theoretically, it's like, oh, that should be good for you, right? Like, oh, those are doing the things that your deck you want to do as like the blue black player. But I was like, no, it's making my mana worse, and I actually don't think I want it. And so I decided in the next game to just sideboard out the green. I didn't do that. I just sideboarded out the Lumira, but I kept the other green stuff. Okay, whatever. I didn't do the thing that I said I did. But my mana was kind of fine. I'll go talk about this in a bit. Because things are going well for me. So here my opponent gets it for 4. And I have a Shoreline Looter in play, so they're losing. So they need to kill the Shoreline Looter. They have a Warren Elder. Fortunately, I just keep packing in. They keep they spent their whole turn removing my Bren, which was really good for me. And then I think they just very quickly conceded once I started like getting the cavalry in. They just kind of said, "Nope, I'm off it," and yeah, they just didn't have enough mana to pump the stuff twice with Warren Elder, and I had a big enough board to block all their stuff. And then I believe that this one was even faster because I think they just missed their land drops. I think I just went Shoreline Looter into them into Beastbinder, and they just don't hit more than 2 lands and concede. So that's how that one went. And then you'll still notice that I switched to like the new iteration of the deck, which does not have green cards in it. So I thought about not playing. So this is actually an interesting spot. So I thought about not playing Shoreline Looter on turn 2 because I have 2 protection spells for it. The reason I played it in this spot is because my opponent went for a Suncharger. If my opponent had led on like Swamp or something, like Swamp or Mountain specifically, I would very, very likely have not played the Shoreline Looter on 2. I would have waited until turn 3. And the reason is that what they would very likely do is just instantly remove the Shoreline Looter with their removal spell, because it's very likely that a red or black opponent is going to have a removal spell in their opening hand, especially a cheap one. And I have the 2 protection effects in my hand, so I think that it would have been wise for me to, if my opponent didn't play like this, if my opponent wasn't Frogs, which I knew that they were because they went turn 1 Suncharger, I would have played differently, and I think that's something to sort of keep in mind. Here I ended up just like casting a Sugarcoat under 3/2 because I wanted to spend my mana. I think that was, you could find yourself not wanting to do that, but I wanted to do it. My opponent was just doing frog value stuff. This was a value battle. This game ended up being like a value battle. They were trying to get their frog synergies value. I was trying to get my Shoreline Looter value. Shoreline Looter value ends up winning out in the end. They kept trying to kill it. I kept protecting it. And eventually, I just got in with my 2 guys enough and played a big enough board that they were doing stuff. There's a Dream Dune Enchanter. I actually ended up flickering my Shoreline Looter up with the bird here, and then they end up killing it. I think, yeah, they kill it, and then I play the other one, and they just lose. They ended up killing, like, once the Mind Whisker was in play and they didn't kill it, which they probably should have just killed the Mind Whisker. Shoreline Looter makes people do weird things, you know what I mean? It makes people do weird stuff. So that ends up being a win. And then, so this switches to deck 4, which I don't think I ever actually apparently I swapped back. I don't know, because I won this game. So this one looks pretty straightforward, as you can see. Shoreline Looter. I think did they actually kill it this time? Oh no, I went pawn profit on 2. I thought I had Shoreline Looter. I didn't have Shoreline Looter in this opener. I don't know what's wrong with me. Something's gotten into me. Just kind of chilling, not doing a whole lot. There's an interesting. I did a Long River Lurker thing. Long River Lurker was in this deck. It maybe shouldn't have been. I had 3 pawn profits though, so I was kind of like, well, it's a 2/3 with Ward 1. It gives all my 1/1s Ward 1, and it allows me to draw an extra card sometimes. Like a lot of times when I draw it, I'm gonna have something that gets in and gets me an extra card. So I ended up being fine. This one again. So this matchup was really just like me valuing my opponent pretty bad. This one I had to mulligan, obviously, and kept a frogs only hand and just sort of did some stuff. But my opponent was just what I should have done is blocked the pawn profits earlier. I made a mistake of not blocking with them early enough, and I took like an extra hit that I shouldn't have taken. The thing is, though, the Agate Blade Assassin was going to get it. He could be getting in if I did that. I don't know. It wasn't great. I don't think I played this game perfectly, but they ended up rebirthing a thing that made 2 flyers and killed me. So that wasn't great. You'll notice that in 3 of the matches, I lost the first game. Which means I had to win on the draw in game 3s for 3 game 3s, and I did end up doing that 3 separate occasions. So I'd say I never did nothing for you. So this one I ended up keeping. I have the bell, so I actually go get another blue for the pawn profit. My opponent, I get to counter their patchwork banner, which was really nice. They end up just killing my 4-drop. They have a Yigra. So this game was actually very close because they have a Yigra in play, and I basically just have a 1/1, and I can't do anything about this. They just try to kill my thing. I'm at 14. Oh no, this was the one that the Yigra didn't do anything. So I just was able to protect my Shoreline Looter twice, and they weren't able to kill me. I was dead to any like trample trick at that point. I was thinking about how I'd block around it, and there just wasn't a way to do it. This one was a lot tighter. It was very similar to the previous game because so here I decided to play pawn profit instead of Shoreline Looter. So that's the line I talked about earlier, where my opponent goes swamp pass, and to me that means they're going to have a saver close to 60% of the time, and it's possible I should just play Beastbinder to play around that instead of pawn profit. I think that's maybe would have been better. I don't think it really ended up. I guess it would have been better. Yeah, it would have been better to do that. I should have played the Beastbinder instead of pawn profit to play around a removal spell. So that was actually a miss. And then they end up having this Yigra that's like a 14/14. And I'm at 17 life. I decide to take it, actually, believe it or not. They hit me for 14, I take it. And they rebirth me. And I have to do all this weird finagling here, where I end up killing Yigra, and our boards are basically this. I drew a removal spell, which was nice. And they drew an Gateway Assassin. I now have Shoreline Looter. I kept the Shoreline Looter on top here, I think. But I kept turning off the Gateway Assassin because I'm at 3, and I know they have the flying that drains me. So there's that to always think about. So I knew I had to have a clock, which is why the friend's attacking here. I think I should have been turning off the Gateway Assassin here. I think I misplayed actually because I gave them 1 out, which I shouldn't have done. Like that was a mistake. But I ended up not getting punished and ended up winning that one. And then on to the matchup that I think was the worst for me. I think this was a really bad matchup actually, but we ended up winning. So another turn 2 Shoreline Looter hand, which happens a lot when your deck has 2 of them. And this deck, this hand, I thought was like almost unlosable. Like I was like, oh, there's no way I can lose this. But nope, there was a way I could lose it. It turned out when your opponent just plays like a bunch of flying creatures that deal more damage than your 1/1s, you are going to lose even though you're drawing a million cards. Yeah, they basically just played just all this power and toughness, and I was like, oh my god, I'm getting run over. And then ended up losing here. Just couldn't find enough removal to deal with the flyers. And so then I boarded into the final version of the deck, which had Into the Floodmon, Cut the 6-drop, which probably shouldn't ever. This probably should have just been the deck. I don't know. I think there were multiple builds of this deck that were slightly bad. And like it didn't matter because Shoreline Looter was so good. But this one I think I ended up keeping because of Pawn Profit. So obviously we just go get a Pawn Profit. My opponent is Carrot Cake in play. I'm just kind of smashing, trying to hope that I can get some damage in. I have 2/2/3 flyers at this point. I have a 3/3 flyer, which draws me a card. So they get to attack me. I ended up trading with one of the 3/3 flyers. Now I have Rat, because I have Ren in play. Now I have these rats, and I get to, the rats basically just take over the game. I go to 13. They have the snake. I end up actually taking 4 instead of sacrificing something. I don't know if that was right or not. But fortunately, I had to remove for the snake. I get to attack all. They have to block, give me another rat. Now they can't attack me anymore. I can just go back to slamming. They have to triple block, give me 3 more rats, and then the game basically just ends because they have 2 Plume Creed Escorts and they can't remove it. So, on to this one, the final game for all the marbles. And it begins with a mulligan, I believe. Did I mull this actually? Hold on. Yeah, I had to mulligan here. So I mulligan down to 5. Kept this. It's not a good hand, but I have a counter spell, which is really nice. Now I end up countering this hop to it, which I think is probably fine. I also ended up just playing out a 2/3 straight up, which kind of looks like it's terrible, but I think is fine. I ended up getting smashed here by the 4/5 flyer. They're down to 1 card in hand with 4 planes, so I actually felt like it was winnable. Feather of Flight they cast, which was pretty bad for me, but luckily I had the 2/1 to block, so I ended up getting the block here. I have a Shoreline Looter in play. I'm at 13. And so the Shoreline Looter I'd actually kept on top from one of my surveils, which was actually really key because it ended up basically carrying me. My opponent had another flying creature, and I needed removal really bad. I ended up getting some here, and you'll see that there it is. So I actually pick up Surecoat and hold it. They drew a swamp into the bat, which was really lucky for them. But I ended up being able to remove their lifelink, so they were able to do 2 damage to me. I was racing them back. They were 12. I ended the Floodmaw, which was really nice. So I get to bounce their creature here. Which means that's only lost 2 life, and I go to 7, and they can't. I don't think they could recast it that turn. Yeah, they cracked it first, so they couldn't recast that turn. I got to attack with everything, except for the 1/1 because I was worried about dying. Might have been bad. Then I just play my Shoreline Looters. They get to crack me back here down to 6. I drew a removal spell, and then it was basically game over. So I got to attack with everything they had to block. They chose to block like this. They didn't block the 1/1 with the 2/4, which didn't really end up mattering. But yeah, so I found a removal spell. I thought about removing this in their upkeep. I decided there wasn't a spell in the set that gives protection in black or white, so I thought that it was better to wait because I didn't think there was really anything they could draw. Like I think it was probable because I thought that there was like maybe some stuff they could draw that like I don't know. I think it was marginal. I don't think. Basically what I wanted was I wanted them to crack their food. I wanted them to have to crack the food during their main phase, so maybe they wouldn't be able to like cast the thing that they drew. But I ended up just removing it on combat, and they lost the game. As a result, I went to 4, and they were dead on board with only 4 mana up. I'm to 13, and even if they could stay alive, they would have to crack their thing, and I was getting to draw 2 more cards with short others, so they were extremely likely to just be dead there. And that's it. That's the 5-0 run. This was the deck that primarily got me there. It wasn't quite this exact build, but thank you for sticking around. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this or me doing recaps of things like this, set reviews, all that good stuff. And I'll see you next time.